Major League Journeymen. We're back. Holiday weekend stuffed full of ribs and beers and all the good vibes. I hope you guys had a great weekend. We were in Bettendorf, Iowa. Never been.
Wow.
I didn't even know that was a town. But I will say that it was a lovely little town, and we had a great tournament up there. Took the kids up there. Three out of four kids participated, and it was a full weekend
I
of
gotta
soccer.
say, I gotta say, maybe I'm wrong in thinking this, but I'm not really looking forward to youth sports taking away some of my holidays. That's
Oh, every holiday.
Yeah,
oh
all of
man.
Every
them.
holiday.
Your
Oh
weekends.
man.
Hey,
Just
hey,
donate
guards.
your weekends.
Hey,
Uh,
with multiple kids, I've had three kids play in the same tournament a ton. How
Yeah,
was your, I mean, how was your strategy to get,
dude.
in Bettendorf, Iowa?
I
In
mean,
Bettendorf, Iowa. So I will
yeah,
say, we went to this place. It was called TBK Bank Complex. I'm not entirely sure, but it had two full indoor fields, two separate. We stayed. The only way that this was going to work, Gordo, I actually had a fourth. I brought one of Golden, my oldest, one of her friends who also played on another team. So we had four schedules. So we had 12 games on Saturday. It was
you got to be
basically a
very
kickoff
organized.
every 45 minutes.
You
We
got
had a spreadsheet going. It was,
yeah,
dude,
yeah. You go
it was a
here, I'll
lot,
go
man.
here, and then I'll leave at halftime. You come over
Yeah.
here.
Yep. We
I
got
got
to
to
get the warm
coach.
up over here. Then we're
Yeah.
over this.
You
Dude,
guys
we
are
were
like
all over the
you guys are
place.
like offensive defensive coordinators in football.
It's
You got the Excel spreadsheet going?
Very
it's
underrated
very
skill for a
similar.
father. It is
It is
Wow.
a
very,
lot, man. It
especially when
it
you're
looked a lot
coaching.
like our kitchen in the morning trying to get out the door for school. Like it wasn't all that different. We're just herding cats in different places. Um, it was a lot, Gordo, but it was a lot of fun, man. Three out of four of them ended up in the final. Two won the tournament, so two out of three won. My youngest daughter, Raleigh, she came in second, so she still got some hardware. My oldest daughter, Golden, she participated with I guess she guest played on another team that wasn't her team, which was some great experience for her. She played up a level, so everyone loved it. Everyone had a really good weekend, and we got ice cream at the end of it. We went to Whitey's in Bettendorf. Shout out Whitey's. They're a spot, and they got one of the better milkshakes I've had in a while. So that's how we consumed soccer on our weekend. But we did end up catching some of the League's Cup final,
Oh
which
yeah.
had more storylines than the 16 games that I watched my kids play. Let me start with this because I think that it's probably a valuable question at this point, and I'm going to pitch this to Gordo because I have some personal feelings that are probably more emotional than actually maybe just qualitative, or they are emotional. I'll just leave it at that. Is Seattle the best club in the league, Gordo?
Yeah.
Does it
Yep.
pain you to say that?
Oh my kids, I've said this several times. My kids hate all Seattle sports because of their
Because
upbringing,
of you.
because of me.
Yeah.
Because when they were kids, I was playing, and no matter what team I went to, LA, San Jose, they were always our rivals.
Right.
They were always a tough because they were a tough team to play. And
Yeah.
by
Hmm.
and don't forget, I went my first season ever was a Portland Timber. I
Yep.
played I
Yep.
played the Sounders in my first professional game. I scored in 40 seconds. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
you
just
did.
throw
And then
that in
it
there.
was all
No big
downhill from
no
there.
big
And
deal.
I also got this scar. I got 7 stitches in the side of my face, and I got an elbow right after I scored, and they were going to let it be known. So my whole entire career has been hating Seattle. I hate
Hmm.
I hate them to death, but I respect the crap out of them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I always hated Schmetzer. There's no reason to hate him. He's like a very likable guy, but I hated him because
Yeah.
they just are a tough team to play against. They are a really good club, and the consistency over the last 10, 15 years is just incredible. And
Dude.
not doing it in any, like the Galaxy, which is our team, Gargs, we
Hmm.
do it a very different way. We buy players. We
Yep.
buy big signings and big names from Europe to sell tickets and be this big glamorous club. They don't do it that way. They
No.
do it a very different way, and it just breeds consistency back to the days of, like Brad Evans and Chad Marshall, and these guys played there. They don't leave.
Yeah.
They get you and you stay forever. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but yeah, they are the pinnacle of the league as far as a
You know
10
that
years.
Dex, before you jump in,
Well, I think we should tell people maybe that live under a rock who might listen to us why. I mean, Seattle smashed Inter Miami in the League's Cup final.
smashed Inter
Wasn't
Miami,
wasn't
smashed
even
the LA Galaxy a few days prior to that
yeah,
in the
like
semifinal. It was just a
3-0.
two
3-0 final
completely
score.
Hey,
different teams
Yeah.
to
which
the
one of
level.
us picked Seattle to win? Oh, no way. Wait, you guys don't have to
Gordo.
answer. Oh, hey,
Gordo.
has the listeners ever heard such silence from these two?
Have the
No.
listeners ever heard a correct prediction out of Gordo?
Yeah,
I don't think
I
so,
don't think
but
so.
congratulations,
Yes,
Gordo.
yes.
They've never heard one out of Gordo. They did hear one recently now out of Gordini. But
Uh,
Gordini doesn't show up often. He's in
Gordini
Italy.
doesn't miss, dude. Dax,
No, it doesn't.
is Seattle the best organization in the league?
Yeah. The answer is emphatically yes. At this moment in time, I do think that these things are cyclical, but let's be completely honest. Seattle, since they have entered MLS, have been
Oh,
in a cycle of success
I
unlike
was gonna
anything we've
say
ever
this is a
seen.
long cycle for
It is.
Seattle.
And I just find it so fascinating. And there's so many different layers to this conversation and how we could go about this. But I don't know if you guys might remember this conversation we had. I remember we had this conversation about Seattle when I had first gotten to Atlanta. So it might have been around like April or March or April of last year. And I
Okay.
remember Seattle was struggling. And I remember we had a
Yeah.
big conversation about,
Yep.
is it time? Is it finally over for the Seattle Sounders and Brian Schmetzer? Is the message stale? And we likened it pretty similarly to what was going on with Sporting Kansas City and Peter Vermees. And I
Yep.
felt like that was very apples to apples. Smaller, quote unquote, smaller market club with a tremendous fan base, a great stadium training facility setup, and a coach that's been one of the longest tenured coaches in Major League Soccer history. Had the
Hmm.
message just started to get stale. And I remember we had that conversation, and I felt like it was a fair conversation. We weren't just throwing barbs or analyzing it because of an emotional reaction. It was fair. We fast forward to now, and you have to say that Schmetzer, he's got that secret sauce. And I don't know exactly what it is because when I hear Brian Schmetzer talk, I think that's my old uncle who I just want to hang out with, and he's gonna just like
Dude, I feel like
he's
Schmetzer
gonna
is
be
like
making eggnog at the
He's
Christmas
a
party.
science teacher.
he's the
He's like a
dad
science
that
teacher.
Yeah,
he's the dad that you hope to meet when you go to your girlfriend's house. Like
totally,
just completely
totally,
unassuming and not
totally.
intimidating whatsoever. And you're like,
Just
okay, yeah,
a gentle, just
I can have a glass of wine with this guy.
a lovely, gentle human
Yeah,
being
sure,
who just,
sure, Dad.
guys,
Mr. Schmetzer, we can go out on the patio and chat about your daughter.
he just constantly gets the best out of this team. And Gordo hit on a few points that are so pertinent for this club. They in this final and throughout this run to Leagues Cup, they were missing their best player in Albert Rusnak. They were missing their
Hmm.
best striker in Jordan Morris. They were missing Nuhu, who was suspended, the mercurial Nuhu, who is just an absolute meme. But
Lunatic.
on his
Dude,
day,
he is a lunatic.
we got to get him on Journeyman just to kind of see what his vibe is. But
I would love
you,
that.
you have to say one of the best 1v1 defending fullbacks in MLS. I mean, you
Yeah,
could go down the Ryan
yeah.
Kent, a great signing who has been dangerous on the wing. I mean, just go down the list, guys. And we talk
Hmm.
about depth and we talk about rotation and how to get the rotation right. Brian Schmetzer, he just gets it. The Seattle Sounders, they just get it and they just do it their own way. And they are the absolute pinnacle of consistency and success. Because you want to talk about consistency, let's talk about my old club, the New York Red Bulls. They're consistent making the playoffs. They don't win shit, though. They haven't
No,
won shit. And the
no.
Sounders, while they may fail in the regular season at times and they may go through ruts at times, like they did this year. I was thinking about them this year, like, they don't look great. Guys, they just know how to
Dude,
turn it on. They
but
just do.
they look fantastic.
They
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 look
dominated. If
fantastic.
you want
I
to take
think
it
rolled
down to
down.
this
I think
final, They
I think
dominated.
Rodon is the most underrated player in the league.
Yeah, he's been that
And
for a
that's
while.
probably because of a very
He
good
just plays his
player,
role.
but his intangibles are off the charts. What he
Yeah.
does for the rest of the roster is really incredible stuff. And let's just add a little context on this conversation. 9 trophies since they've come into the league. 9. 4 US Open Cups, 2 MLS Cups, a Supporter Shield, a CONCACAF Champions Cup, which we've
First
talked
team
about
in
how
MLS to do
hard
that. Yep.
that was to do, and now a Leagues Cup championship in 2025. I don't think that it's even a discussion at this point
Also,
right
by
now.
the
They
way,
have continued to
yeah,
step up and continue to raise the level every
the
single
I don't know if
piece of
it's.
this cycle.
I agree, Dan. I don't know if it's 4 or 5 finals that they've played in at Lumen Field. I think it's 5 now. They're
I think
5
it's
and 0.
5. I think
5
it's
and 0.
5.
They have not lost. So
Mm-hmm.
you get them in big games in Seattle, they're going to win. And
Which
that
also
is
speaks to the consistency, right? Because the only way you
it's
host is
well,
if
I
you
think it
are
speaks
winning.
correct. And I also think it's to the fan base and the support that they have cultivated through
Mm-hmm.
years and years and the
Mm-hmm.
history
That
they
was
have.
cool. That was cool
They're-
to see the atmosphere that they had.
Guys, it was
They came
amazing.
out. I know
I
Messi was there, but they would have been there anyway.
They would
Dude,
have.
they're always great. Gordo, like
Yeah.
we played regular season games
Yeah.
in front of 65,000 people there. And they're awesome. Their fans are
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me about this final, and so just for a context, you guys obviously know, I was not on the coverage over the weekend. I had the weekend off, so I didn't go up. They had a ton of people covering the game. They were like, "Hey Dax, we don't need you for the biggest game. Don't worry about that." So I was like, "Great, thanks guys." So I watched. I was with my kids. It was a great family weekend, and I watched it from the comfort of my couch. And I just thought you could not have two diametrically opposed forces here. You have the Seattle Sounders. Consistency. Yeah, they've bought a big player every now and then, but
Yeah.
they have kind of their set model.
Team first mentality.
Team first ethos, bringing through young players more than they ever have now, relying on the Tacoma Defiance, their second team, and you have Inter Miami. And I think it's fair to say we'll get into this later, but let's call them what they are, the villain of Major League Soccer at this point in time. But
Absolutely.
the best player that's ever lived and his merry band of high quality amigos that have come and joined him. And I was just thinking about this before we hopped on. You have Messi, the greatest player that's ever lived, and they're all a little bit older. You have Jordi Alba, top 5 fullback in the last 100 years. You have Sergio Busquets, top 5 defensive midfielder in the last 100 years. And you have Luis Suarez. Probably, it's arguable he's a top 5 striker that has played in the last 100 years. You can argue that for sure.
Yeah,
with his CV, with his resume. Guys, Seattle played them off the park, okay? And we won't get into the nuances of the game, but Seattle was dominant. Messi had a chance in the second half to bring it 1-1, which a chance that I cannot believe he didn't even get it on frame. He fluffed it. That was almost as shocking as what happened after the game. And then Allende had another chance that Suarez, with 2 just brilliant passes, put him in 1v1. So if they score that, bring it to 1-1, maybe we're talking about a different game. They didn't. Seattle was dominant. It just has to be. I feel like if you're a purist in an MLS sense, you have to look at that and say, hey, yeah, Inter Miami, maybe there's a little whatever favorable things that happen for them with regard to roster building because they have Messi. But guess what? That doesn't equate to trophies all the time, guys. They've won 2 trophies in his time here, and they've lost a lot more than they've won. So it doesn't always equate to trophies, but Seattle, they just always find a way.
Gordo, let's flip the page because I again, I know how I feel on this, but I would like to hear you articulate how you feel. Is there a team that you in the past that you have disliked more than you dislike Miami today?
Yeah, I mean, I dislike the Seattle Sounders.
He dislikes them, but he respects the hell out of them.
More than I dislike the Miami. But dude, Dax said it. They have made themselves the villains. I mean,
I hate Miami. I hate everything about them.
I hate
everything about them.
I loved them when they first came. I thought it was great for the league, but I absolutely hate them now. And this is not the first time that they've done this. And there's shenanigans after a loss, on some of these games, and it's just embarrassing, dude. Like you're watching these guys, and Dax said top five players in the last 100 years. and they're acting like absolute clowns. And it makes me smile from ear to ear because they're so frustrated that they cannot win in this league, which
Hmm.
I think they overlooked. They
I
thought
think
that,
that I agree, Gordo. They
you
probably
know,
thought it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to stack trophies.
totally. And MLS is showing up and saying this is not the league it was 10 years ago. Like we are
So
good.
let me probe that a little bit, Gordo. Is there another level for these guys to get to, or do you think that they're not going to win?
They're not going to win, dude. This is it. What else can they do? They brought in what's his name? DePaul,
Hmm.
and it's very underwhelming what he's
He
done
has
for the
not been
team.
good, man. He's
He's
been
not been
bad.
great. He's not been great. And that was like the piece that everybody's like, oh, they're going to win now. This is like the special piece. It just comes back to what we're saying about the Sounders, dude. They are a better team. They have better individuals, but you watch, they're reliant on one or two plays a game, and they're hanging on for dear life. It feels like for the rest of the game because they're unorganized. It doesn't seem like they're organized. Their back line is
A shambles. Their
Yep.
back
in
line is a shambles.
shambles, and they're just reliant on these like one or two plays a game from Messi or Suarez or Alba or one of these guys, and it's just not going to work in a long season and or a playoff run. I mean, I
When
don't
you
know.
get when you get to the top teams in this league, I think that the top teams can weather those moments better than most the rest of the teams can. The moments of brilliance from Luis Suarez, from Leo Messi. Obviously, they're still going to get their goals, but they can weather some of that a little bit better than the lesser mediocre teams. But you also have players and team mentalities on the other side of the ball that are good enough to break them. And that's where I think that the second tier in MLS, they don't have that killer, just the final pass all the time. Or if they're put in a position to score that goal, they will score that goal. You can guarantee on it. The Sounders, they don't miss. They don't miss their opportunities. Way a lot more often they make their opportunities than the next tier, right? So I think that I probably agree with you, Gordo. I don't think that we're gonna see Miami win. I don't think that it's gonna happen.
I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit. I think when you have Messi on his day, he will take over a game and he will do whatever
Absolutely.
he
I don't
wants.
disagree with that, Dax.
But let's take it a little further. I like how you use the word probe there, Gargs. Let's probe this a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice usage.
I
Let's
was a
talk
spelling
about
bee
let's
champs
talk about Inter
sixth through
Miami.
ninth grade.
Inter Miami was below par in this final. Messi was below par in this final. He was wasteful like we haven't seen. But guys,
Hmm.
let's go to the other side, okay? I don't want to bring it back to Atlanta United, all right, in the playoff series. But Gordo, we talked about this, right? You picked us, I think, to beat them. And you just said, Dax, I don't know what it is about what you guys have going on, but you guys match up well with Inter Miami. And part of it to me is experience, okay? You have the best center back pairing. I'm ready to call them that in Major League Soccer right now with Yamar and Jackson Reagan. To me, it's the
Reagan
best.
was phenomenal.
It's
He
the
was
best
great.
center back pairing in Major League Soccer, and when they're healthy, they're dominant. And you have an easy top five midfield combination in Major League Soccer with who you already talked about a little bit, Gordo, Christian Roldan, and then a 20-year-old Obed Vargas who's tremendous.
Obed's
That
tremendous too.
that
Very good.
box that box is essentially a no-fly zone for any attacker that wants to operate. That's exactly the space that Messi operates in. And he is going to eventually find space every now and then and create his chances, which he had a chance and he missed it. But he was frustrated the entire game precisely because Christian Roldan and Obed Vargas said, "You're not beating us, okay? Your peripheral players can beat us. You aren't beating us." And that's kind of goes back to it Atlanta United. When I was playing and when I was in the middle of the field, I just said, if these other players beat us on Inter Miami, then so be it. But Messi cannot beat us. And that's where it's so frustrating when I watch teams play against Messi and the different patterns of play that you see. The ball goes to Jordi Alba, he's going to look for Messi. It's a corner kick. Inter Miami didn't take one long corner kick the entire game. They tried to play short. And when you play short, guess what? Messi's going to act like he's not doing anything, and then he's going to dart in behind the back line, and they're going to try to find him, right? The way that Seattle, and specifically that box, the center backs in the midfield, completely nullified everything Messi was trying to accomplish right in that most important area. That's the blueprint, guys. That is the
Hmm.
blueprint for everyone else. And I try to talk about this ad nauseum because it just frustrates me when Messi gets the ball. He's not going to run by you 1v1, but he's going to play and he's going to move. And you're going to think if you saw Orlando picks up the ball, does a
So wait,
little
Dex,
1-2.
what are you disagreeing with?
Well, I disagree with the fact that they don't have a chance to win something this year. I disagree with that because Gordo said no, right? Essentially, I don't want to put words
Yeah.
in your mouth, Gordo.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
And you said that too.
I
I
did. Yes.
I still believe that they're going to have a say in the supporter shield race with the games in hand they have. I still think they're going to have a say in the MLS Cup run. Now, okay, you tell me to pick who I think is going to win MLS Cup. I'm not going to pick Miami, but I think they've got a chance, and I think it's because of Messi.
Yeah,
And it
you
just
have Messi.
depends.
But
Anyone's
there's
got a
always a
chance,
chance,
okay?
right?
But to your guys' point, in this final, they were played off the field, and Seattle was the better team. They deserve to win. But there's an imbalance in this roster. Mascherano is showing a little bit of naivety with the way that he coaches and sets this team up. When he wants to get aggressive and go for the game, he puts an attacking player on. He puts Busquets at center back. It's just not a recipe for success. So I think Inter Miami. Look, when Messi isn't making magic, there's not a
Dude,
lot else you can
Dex,
rely on.
you're talking about a roster imbalance. They just announced Kermosky going to
Yeah,
Parma, right? Who I think is arguably the best young player in the league, at least one of the top five best young players in the league. And now you send him out, an influential piece, to
yeah,
go and, get reps with Parma, all good, fine. But you're asking now more older players to do more of the dirty work that is going to get those moments for Messi, for Suarez, for Jordi Alba to be able to create. I don't, dude, I think it's the wrong time, personally. If you are actually
yeah,
trying to capitalize on Messi and this window to win championships, I think you got to sacrifice Kermosky's development and say, no, you're going to learn here. You're going to do the dirty work for us, and we're going to get you on your way when we can, whenever
yeah.
this window is gone. I think it's even further imbalanced now. I don't know. I think that's a big miss from Inter Miami, personally.
Yeah, I think there might be more under the surface there, and I don't know for sure, but that's just speculation to be completely honest. But I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple weeks back, Kromoski talked about not being happy with his role.
Yeah.
He said,
Hmm.
I don't know on any given day, I don't know where I'm gonna play. And I'll do whatever they ask of me, but I don't know
Hmm.
where I'm gonna play.
Sounds eerily similar to Julian Gressel when he was asked to do all the work down there.
Sure. So
I've been in that role. It's not an easy role. It's not
yeah,
an easy role to show up and do the work and just do what you're told. That is going to be different every week in
yeah.
and week out. And
Well,
it's such an incredibly valuable role.
I think that they wouldn't do it if they didn't feel like they had enough cover and legs in the midfield. I still think Yannick Bright is a great player and he's going to develop. He's first choice over Kromoski at this point. And so, look, I hear your point, Gargs. I don't necessarily think that it's. I think Kromoski's a really good piece. I don't know if he's going to make or break your title hopes. If I'm being completely honest, that's
Maybe
just kind
not.
of how I feel about it.
Maybe not.
Can we put a bow on this with something I said I tweeted and tell you guys tell me if I'm crazy. Brian Schmetzer, top three coach in Major League Soccer history, and he ain't three. Like, what are we feeling that's too far or that's pretty fair?
that's
I think
fair, dude.
who else do you have? You got Bruce, right?
It's Bruce and Smets at the top, and then I think you get a couple others underneath.
Maybe Dom Kinnear.
Siggy.
Maybe Siggy, maybe Dom, maybe Bob. But I think
I
Schmetzer. I
I
think
I would
Schmetzer. I think if we're going tiers,
Schmetz is now in the conversation of top tier. Absolutely.
well, I think it's Bruce, and then I think Schmetzer's right there, right on his tail. That's just I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know if you can argue that.
I would agree.
How many cups does Bruce have? Five?
You guys should know this. I'm pretty sure he's got six. Three with DC, three with LA.
Not
I know
three with
he's got at
DC.
least three with LA. I know that. I thought he had two with DC. I thought he had five, but I could be wrong. He could have six. Either
Well,
way,
he's got
that's
the
a lot.
most.
That's a lot of championships. The
Yeah,
only, I mean, Bruce is still the top. He's been the head coach for all those things. So Smets is an assistant
Schmetz.
for what, four of the trophies, and then the head with five.
Yeah,
Is that
he's
right? Or
got
five and four? Five is an assistant,
Schmetz
four
ain't
is a
slowing
head.
down either, by the way. He's got
No, it doesn't look like it.
his
It does not
window.
look like it.
We if we've learned anything from Seattle, his window is just it's as long as he wants to
Expanding.
coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's pretty wild. I mean, here's the other thing like that we touched on, which we'll get to when we chat MLS a little bit, but Garth Lagerwey's influence up there almost removing Schmetzer from being the head coach and Weibel stepping in there and continuing
Yep.
the wheel here.
It's
Like
cultural.
Weibel, it's pretty impressive what Seattle is doing. To tie up Leagues Cup, where do you guys sit in the antics post game? You know, like this was a little bit more than I think is normal. Obviously, teams get frustrated, players get frustrated. There's always the quote unquote dust up. I felt like this was an awful lot, and maybe it's just because you're seeing it from a quote unquote top tier player in Luis Suarez, one of the faces of the league acting like an absolute clown. Is this more, or is this just kind of a throwaway? What are we thinking?
Gordo.
This is Suarez we're talking about. This is not new from him.
Yeah.
He's been doing this his entire career. And I'm sure there's 100 instances post game that he's been involved in that we haven't seen. This is just what he does. I mean, he does
Hmm.
it, he's been doing it forever. And so I think it's him, but I think it's more. I think it is more. I think it was a really bad look for them. And it's bad all around. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And I think that they're acting, and I think they just take the emotion. Like Mascherano is so emotional. Did you guys see when
Yeah.
he was
Dude,
suspended and
watching
he's
him
on
Yeah.
the phone
pacing,
and
it's
he's
so
yelling and
ridiculous.
he's doing this and they're feeding off of it and not a good way and not a way
Yeah.
that these experienced players should be acting in these big moments, and
Yeah.
so they're almost grasping. It's like it's like watching a heavyweight that's beyond his years, step into the ring and lose, and you almost feel bad for him. And then it's like Tyson when he bit off Holyfield's ear. It's like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? But he didn't know
Not
what
know
else
how
to
to handle it.
do
Didn't know how to handle
because he,
losing.
he doesn't know how to. They don't know how to handle it. And
That's
here's
yeah.
some inside stuff that just makes me sick. Della Vega, we talked about him. How awesome
Yeah.
has he been?
Yeah.
He's
Awesome.
been so good, and that's another piece of Schmetzer that we were like, okay, well, where's this guy going to play? Remember when we were talking about?
Yep.
Yep.
We're like, well,
Yep.
Schmetzer will figure it out, and then they weren't
Yep.
doing well, and I was like, I guess we were wrong.
Yeah.
Schmetzer is not figuring it out, and he's gone ahead, and this guy's having a great. I mean, every time I watch him play, he gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
He's
Dude, he
more
killed
comfortable in that
LA.
system.
I
Oh, he killed him.
he was
And so
nasty.
Messi told him, do you remember when they got into a little scuff during the
Yeah.
game? Messi
Uh,
told him to his face, he said, "You'll never play for the national team as long as I am involved." He basically
What?
blackballed him on the field. And so, and
That's
this
crazy.
happened. This happened. And so that is disgusting to me. It is disgusting. And they're acting in a way that is disgusting all around. And they're, like Dak said, again, they are the villains. And it's gross to watch. And now I want them to lose every single time I watch them. It's really sad to watch, man.
That's the first I'm hearing about that. That's insane. If that actually happened, I'm assuming you have an inside source on that, Gordo, which
I
is
do.
yeah. And so look, I think what you said about the heavyweight boxer getting to the end of his years is really strong, and I think that's really pertinent. And this is where I fall in line with what I'm seeing with Inter Miami, and especially the post-game nonsense. There's a fine line, a very fine line between passion and petulance, and they have long jumped over the petulance line
I
for
gotta say,
this.
they're way on the other side of the
They're
spectrum
they
here.
it's and I wasn't on the shows this weekend, but I thought my colleagues on MLS Wrap Up, this is not just a shameless plug. I encourage everyone to go watch it. What Kevin Egan, Sasha Question, Bradley Wright Phillips, and Andrew Wiebe talked about after the game, I thought they were spot on. It's an embarrassment that we have a team in the league that is acting this way after the game. It's a disgrace that we have a team with such high quality players and such tremendous ambassadors for the beautiful game on the field. What we saw from them throughout their whole careers, and now what we're seeing from them now. is unacceptable behavior. Completely unacceptable. I mean, to see this from Suarez, I think Gordo's right. It's not a surprise. He's been like this his whole career. To see it from Sergio Busquets, I mean,
Punched him.
guys,
Punched him.
Yeah.
what is how the only way to explain what you're seeing from a guy like Busquets, who is the epitome of class and is the epitome of class on the field. They are coming to grips, in my opinion, with their own mortality, with the fact that their careers are coming to an end.
Maybe
And
they're not coming to grips with the mortality.
Right.
Well,
It's
no,
hard.
they are, because it's hard. And some people act out in different ways. Like you guys all experienced it. I experienced it last year, coming to grips with the fact that my career was ending. That is a hard, hard thing. And for a guy like me, guys like us who played our whole careers in MLS, and we're really proud of our careers and did great things for US soccer. I mean, we're talking about a different level of athlete here. We're talking about some of the greatest players that have ever lived, knowing their careers are coming to a close, and you can't win in CONCACAF Champions Cup, in the US Open Cup, and now the Leagues Cup final, right? MLS Cup playoffs last year. Like they are looking at what's happening at the end of their careers, and they don't like what they see, so now they're lashing out. The Suarez stuff, guys, Gordo, after the game, if you're mad at me, punch me in the face, break my nose, kick me where the sun don't shine. All right? At least I can respect that. If you spit on me, that's it.
Done.
That is just a level slightly below like a racial slur, sexism. I mean, let's be honest, guys. That is the lowest you can go to do to someone who's not even a player, someone on staff of the Seattle Sounders, a guy, an older guy who I think he's the head of security or something. Like,
Yeah.
If that's me, I
hey,
don't condone
Dax,
violence.
put your
I'm
Don
throwing haymakers, Gordo.
put
I'm
your
throwing
Don
haymakers,
Garber
dude.
mask on. Dax, put your Don Garber mask on and tell me what you're going to do to Luis Suarez. Because there's a lot of challenge in this decision.
Because this is difficult. This is a really
It's very
This is a
difficult.
difficult thing for the league to navigate. I would not want to be at league headquarters right now trying to figure out how to go through this, because I don't know where the precedent is. The precedent. Wait, hold on. The precedent with Clint Dempsey in the U.S. Open Cup was this guy assaulted a ref, grabbed his notebook, ripped it up, blah blah. This guy got suspended from the Open Cup for like 30 years, all right? But
Forever.
that didn't affect him in the league, did it? So this is Leagues Cup, okay?
I don't know. Didn't you sign him to your roster in like Oklahoma or wherever you're playing
Des Moines
next year?
No, we did it because he's suspended for another 27 years. But I'm just saying, like, what do you do? Because this is Leagues Cup. So if you come out and say these guys are suspended for the next 10 Leagues Cup games, well, that does not hurt them. That does not affect them. Now, if you suspend them for the league, well, then the precedent is set, right? Like, okay, different competitions, the league can rule with an iron fist and come down on you. I think the league has to step in. That's just my personal opinion. I think the league needs to suspend them for league games. But will that happen? No idea.
Gordo?
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting because it is not an MLS fixture. It's a Leagues Cup fixture, which Dax mentioned, and so that throws a wrench into it. But you think about all these different, like what pops into my mind is, remember Ricardo Clark? He kicked the guy on the ground, kicked him right in the chest.
Right. You got what? 10 games,
like,
didn't he?
He got like 10 games. Remember Sala punched Hunter Freeman in the face?
Mm-hmm. I was there.
He broke his nose, or he broke his jaw.
He broke his jaw. He got like 10 games, right? And this is a physical act. And like Dax said, I think it's the lowest form, right? It's the lowest form of physical act.
It's insane.
Like the verbal, like, like slurs and stuff. That's non-physical.
Separate category.
This is a physical act. It's spitting on somebody's face. It's like, dude, this should be heavily punished. It should be heavily punished. You have to set a precedent. I don't know how it bleeds into MLS. I think.
And by the way, yeah, Gordo, sorry to interrupt you. This is not alleged. You could see clear as day what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would agree with Dax. I mean, I think you have to make them feel it. And Suarez is going to be gone maybe next year. So what the hell does he care if he gets suspended for all the rest of the Leagues Cup games in history? He doesn't give a shit. I mean, he's almost done. So it almost should bleed in, and he should miss 5 games, 5 to 10 games. that's the precedent. That's the been the punishment.
Yeah, I think that there's two things at play here. One, I think that if you suspend Suarez, which you have, in my opinion, you have to do, you are
And
decreasing,
Busquets,
and Busquets, you're decreasing Miami's chances of winning a cup,
for
which
sure.
I think is real, and I think that that's unfortunately a real consideration for the league because they're, like we said, I don't think that there's a big window here for them to win, but I think more importantly, this is a precedent. And this talks to the rest of the league, really
Yeah.
more so than Luis Suarez. Who gives a shit about Luis Suarez? I don't think he's
Right.
going to be in a Miami uniform next year, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. But it really does set your precedent for moving forward. And I think that if the league, which I do believe they stand behind this, I do believe that they feel pretty strongly about their trajectory, which I rightfully so. I think you have to make a statement here and put a significant marker down on a suspension. It has to bleed into the league. You can't go into an open because then you're putting a lot of gray area in some of this stuff. And like, an open cup, which a lot of players unfortunately don't really care about, or if you miss 3 games in the open cup, it's not the big deal. Same thing with leagues cup, whatever. League games are still where this league will prioritize moving forward. And you can't act like that if you're
No.
wearing a Major League Soccer crest on your arm. I think that's the finality of it. I'm interested to see how long it takes them to make a decision because
Yeah.
I
this
think
is
he
a
will. I
significant
think
one.
he'll do the right. I think Don Garber, with this all-star thing, with them missing and then him suspending them for a
Hmm.
game, I think he's willing to step up and make tough decisions. So I think
Yeah.
that we will see him make the right decision. And I was happy with his decision with the all-star stuff. He had to do it. He had to set a precedent. I think he'll do it again.
Yeah. Well
Let
said.
me let me shift gears because that's an awful lot for 1 and 2 in terms of the League's Cup. But we did have a third place game, Gordo. I want to hear your opinion on this. There was a lot of puff around this win being
Oh,
significant for the Galaxy and how valuable this is.
I
And
saw that. I
um,
almost commented on their
Did,
social.
did we have a
I
did we have a post game locker room pick?
probably. I did that. I never. I don't comment on people's stuff, and I'm not that guy. But this close, this close. They were like mission accomplished. I think they said mission accomplished, and I wanted to write back like, what mission was that? Like, are we are grasping at the low. Like you, this is. It was embarrassing. It was very embarrassing for them to do that from a team. Like, you are lowering your own standard, dude. You are taking the pinnacle team in the league, the most championships, the Galaxy, number one in Major League Soccer,
Yeah.
and you are lowering your standard to mission accomplished.
Yeah, it's
Like,
insane.
give me a break.
Yeah, Gordo, I agree. I mean, for a club with the standard that we expect the Galaxy. I mean, we just got done talking about the Seattle Sounders and the standard that they set all the time. I mean, I have the Galaxy in and around that conversation. I mean, they are the most successful club in Major League Soccer history, but not recently. I mean, the MLS Cup win masks a lot of issues going on with this organization in this club. I agree. I think that qualifying for CONCACAF Champions Cup via winning a third place game is, I think, the lowest hanging fruit to be able to celebrate. Like maybe just a post that says, listen, in a tough year, we at least get CONCACAF soccer next year. I don't know, something humble yet a little excited, but you're in one of the worst seasons you've ever had in Major League Soccer. I mean, the Galaxy, have a realistic chance to win an MLS Cup last year and finish dead last in Major League Soccer, win the Wooden Spoon this year. And now, you lose out on a chance to win the League's Cup trophy, to win a championship on your home field because you had home field advantage throughout the entire League's Cup. and you lose to the team who's battling you for that moniker of most successful club, and you're celebrating a third place win. I agree with Gordo. I think it's in a little bit beneath the Galaxy.
I think it's a lot beneath the
Yeah,
Galaxy, but I unfortunately think that the majority of their last few years has been well beneath the Galaxy. I think that this is unfortunately a pretty good symbolic moment that showcases where their mentality is. Like this is they're celebrating a third place win and saying that it doesn't salvage the season, but it allows us to move forward and look forward. Like, what are we talking about? This is the Galaxy. And
I
it's
know.
all of the stuff that comes out of Will Kuntz, who is one of the more competitive individuals that I've been around in this league. Greg Vanney, who bleeds LA Galaxy every single day. For them to realistically be talking like this is pretty crazy. It's a stark, I think, showcase of where the state of Galaxy world is, and it's not good, man. And I have no idea where they're going to go in the offseason because this roster
It needs a
it's no
big
different.
upheaval.
It
Yeah.
it needs to trim in a lot of
You,
different areas. It's pretty
you,
wild.
there's some very clear things that the Galaxy need to do in the offseason. They need to make sure Ricky Puig is healthy, which people had talked about it months ago. I can't see a world in which Puig comes back this year. I guess you just should not even don't even put him on the field. It's not worth it. So you figure out first of all, you got to figure out your midfield. Because you have Peck and Paintsel who have had down years but are still dangerous players. They're your DPS. Well, Nascimento looks like a nice piece, but you need a nine. And your whole backline. You have to revamp your entire backline. So this might be the hardest and most difficult job that Will Kuntz has since he's been in Major League Soccer, and certainly Greg Vanney trying to figure out and wear the hats that he wears. Who can I rely on? Who can I trust? So we never have a season like this again as long as I'm in charge.
The tough part is like you're saying that 2 years after we said the exact same thing. They
Yeah,
finished in last in the Western Conference.
yeah,
I don't want to say they got lucky winning an MLS Cup last year, but I still don't feel like it was necessarily by design, as in they were the best team in the league and then they won a cup. It felt more like they backed their way into it. And now they're in a similar position in finishing in dead last. That's not Galaxy soccer,
yeah.
not Galaxy expectations. It's scary. The I want to just touch on because we did touch on this last week. And over the course of making our predictions and Gordo being correct in Seattle, it does feel like there's a different class heading into the last few weeks of this season. It's Philly, it's Cincinnati on the East, and it's San Diego who beats LA in LAFC, and Seattle. Is there anybody else in your minds that are cracking that top tier in this league?
Go ahead, Gordo.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this question, to be completely honest. I'll let Dax answer it.
Sorry,
I
Garrett.
mean,
Who'd you say?
I said in the East, it's
Yeah.
Philly, Cincinnati,
Yep.
and then on the West, it's San Diego and Seattle. I don't think that there's anybody of that class in the league, and I think we've seen a big enough sample size to say, for me anyway,
Yeah.
that that's the cream of the crop. Can other teams win?
well,
Absolutely. We all know that the
well,
playoffs are the playoffs.
hold on.
Yeah.
I can't answer this. I can't answer this. Like, what are you? What kind of question is that? Like, I think that's it. I don't think you thought through that question.
Boom! Shots
Well,
fired.
I don't think you
Okay.
thought through that question.
I'm trying
What
to
team?
limit the words in
What
these questions so
what
you have an
what?
ability to navigate through
I
it. Because when I
appreciate
ask you
that.
with too many questions,
I
too many
appreciate that,
words, you
but like
struggle.
it was so ridiculous. I almost couldn't answer it. But
We're back.
we just watched Seattle and Miami play in the Leagues Cup final. Okay, it's Leagues Cup. How are they not in the top tier? Hey, we just praised Seattle
Yeah.
for
I
25
said
minutes.
Seattle, you dipshit.
No, you
What are you
said
talking?
Vancouver and San Diego.
He said
No, I
Seattle.
didn't.
He said
No,
Seattle.
I didn't. No, I didn't. It didn't say a word. I haven't said Vancouver yet.
You didn't?
Oh,
Ah. Ah, ah,
Gordo, oh
that.
my, he
So
was having such a good show. He was having
I was,
such a good show.
damn,
Oh man.
damn. Okay, well, hey, listen. As much
And
as
the
we
worst
So
just,
one, oh, here,
and
why
dish
don't
as
his
you
much
game
just
as we
out.
just
let
talk shit
Gordo
about,
answer the simple question because I'll throw this to you. I will add a corollary to this question. Should Miami be in the top tier
yes,
of those groups?
Miami should be in the top tier.
Yeah, I think
They have a shot at the Supporter Shield. Dax just said that. They got three
I
games
don't
in
think they
hand.
do, but
They
all
got
right.
3 games in hand. It's gonna largely depend on these suspensions, obviously. But they're yeah, of course they're top tier. I haven't
I
seen the only reason I'm not talking about Columbus is because I haven't seen them play and I haven't heard about them in quite some time. I know they had a tough loss 2 weeks
yeah.
ago, and they're kind of like puttering a little bit, but I still think they're a top tier team as well in the East. I think the
I
East is stacked, dude.
I think Gordo, especially in Major League Soccer, I feel like it's really difficult, especially this year, to like really separate out like the top teams. I feel like the tiers are bigger now, guards, just in relation to who I believe has the quality and depth to go win the whole thing. So the Supporter Shield, I think genuinely think it's probably like a 6, 7 horse race. I think that Vancouver is in with a very small chance. Nashville, Charlotte, Minnesota, Cincy, San Diego, Philly. I think any of those teams, if they go on a big enough run, and by the way, Charlotte's won 8 games in a row, which is insane to me. But they are up to 50 points now. I do think
Okay.
that is a tier of teams. I think Philly's the favorite with along with San Diego. But if you want to talk about MLS Cup, I'm assuming you're talking about tiers for MLS Cup. I think there's anywhere from 5 teams in the West that can win it, and I'll go
Including
through those.
LA.
I'm gonna include LAFC, but I think if you want to talk about the West, I think you have San Diego, Minnesota, Vancouver, Seattle, LAFC. Those are the 5 teams that
I
I
like Minnesota, by the
I
way.
think they have the depth and quality to win an MLS Cup and to go on a run. I do. I genuinely do. And then in the
Minnesota,
East,
you're putting Minnesota in that group?
absolutely. I'm
Say that
absolutely
niche.
putting Minnesota
I'm
in that
not.
group.
No.
Ah, Minnesota is tricky because they just sold their best player. So
I'm not putting Minnesota in that group.
I'm
They're
I'm a
they're
little bit I'm a
they're
little bit
dangerous. I'll give
I'm
you that,
I'm a
but
little
they're
bit
not in that group.
less I'm a little bit less convinced now that they sold Tani Oluwaseyi, who is really one of the best players in the league this year. But I'm still convinced that Minnesota on their day can upset anyone. And then in the East, dude, the East is a bloodbath. Honestly, if you look at Columbus, Miami, Orlando, Nashville, Charlotte, Cincy, Philly, I could make the argument that any one of those teams on their day could go win
Yeah,
MLS
you
Cup.
could make that argument, Dax. Let me reposition this to you then. Would you take anybody before you took Cincy and Philly?
No, not right
No.
now.
And would you take anybody before you took San Diego or Seattle?
Vancouver.
You would
No,
take
I
Vancouver
wouldn't.
before them?
I could be
No way.
convinced. You know what? I wouldn't only because a couple of reasons. LAFC, Igor Jesus, their defensive midfielder out for the season with a torn ACL. They don't have a like for like replacement on the roster. So I would have said LAFC, but that injury, just like the Aaron Long Achilles injury, has really kind of crushed LAFC's spine. I don't put it past their quality with Bawanga and Son to be able to make some magic, but I think your revised question, Gargs, that's fair. I agree with you.
Okay.
That's where I stand.
Okay. No, that's fine. I think I do think that that's our tier. That's our tier one going
Fair. Okay.
into the end of the season, heading into playoffs, heading into where the form is. I think we've seen enough of a sample size for me, and and I'm good with that. Let me ask you one final question. In in the MLS space, Atlanta breaks an 11 game winless streak, and then they break it against Nashville.
Yeah.
Dax, I know you have opinions on Nashville. I know not
Yep.
that long ago you were very bullish on them and the form that they were in. Is this bigger for Atlanta to break this, or does this say more about Nashville in the state that they're in?
I think it says a little bit more about Nashville right now. I really do. You cannot be losing to a team like Atlanta United at home in that fashion. But I'm not overly worried about Nashville. Atlanta, their season's over right now. I think that when the pressure's off right now with Atlanta, I think it's clear that Ronnie Dyla's not going anywhere,
Hmm.
and they've already started to turn that roster over. I think that they're kind of playing with house money at this point. I think the players have had vacations planned for weeks now, and honestly, like when that happens, you're playing with really no stress, really
Yeah,
no
you're free.
pressure. You're free. Nashville, they're having the best season they've ever had in their existence. There are going to be some hurdles along the way with the expectations that come with being one of the best teams in the league. We have given them praise all season long. They had a little bit of a hiccup. They need Walker Zimmerman to stay healthy for the stretch run. And I do believe that BJ Callahan he's going to have to figure out a way to get a more dynamic, dangerous goal scoring threat midfielder on the field. So what I mean by that is with Sam Surge and Hani Mukhtar, you have two of the best designated players in the league. When they're not firing, they don't have another option to score goals. They just don't. I think the next highest guy that scored for them is maybe Alex Mawil with two, Ahmed Qasim two. Like they just don't have a real dangerous goal scoring threat from midfield, which in the playoffs, if your best players are being nullified in some way, you just have to have a little bit more attacking punch. And that's where I kind of fall into with Nashville. Atlanta exposed that a little bit, but I'm not overly worried yet.
Here's what I want you guys to think about because we're discussing top tiers. We're also, go ahead, Gordo. Excuse me.
Okay. I mean,
Shut
I
your
just
mouth.
cannot, I can't let this go.
Okay.
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 I mean, how soon they forget, Gargs, how soon they forget.
This
Dax
could
has
go in a
been
million
retired.
Yeah,
Dax
different
has been
directions.
retired for 1 year, by the way. And
Nine,
hey,
8 months.
8 months, not even a year. Okay. In what world is it stress free when you're losing 11 games in a row?
I
In
was.
what world? It is the worst. It's never free playing. These guys are playing for contracts. I agree with everything you said. You said it very well,
Okay,
Dax. You
fair
hit it on
enough.
the head. But don't forget, they are not playing stress free. These guys are
Fine.
stressed out to the freaking
Fine.
brim.
Maybe they're
All right.
stressed out, but it's not because they're making the playoffs this year. They're stressed
No,
out for
it's
contract
it's
stuff.
not.
Fine.
But they
But
are.
guess what? Some of them have guaranteed contracts. The guys on options might be a little stressed, but whatever.
I
but these
can't
teams
imagine the vibes are pretty
No,
no,
strong in
but
no,
Atlanta's locker room,
but
though.
but
no.
these teams become what they do become is very dangerous games,
Yeah.
like they just had in
They're playing
Nashville.
spoiler. They're playing
Yeah,
spoiler.
they're going to play spoiler the rest of the way. They're fighting for their contracts. They're going to mix it up. They'll probably play some young players that are trying to get a contract.
Exactly.
So I mean, everything else you said
Okay,
was good, but they're stressed.
Gordo,
We
okay, you turned me.
we've
You
had these.
convinced me. Fair
Okay,
point,
all
buddy. Hey, you recovered your pod. You
right.
recovered it.
Thank you,
Well done.
thank you.
Your pod was like this, and then it went down, and now we're back up
We
again.
had
It's
a
Good
like
dip.
stuff,
He
it's
buddy.
like
finished
interest
strong.
rates right now.
Dude, he came back. This is where Gordo operates the best. In the 93rd minute, he shows
That's
up
right.
and he
Sure
did it again.
does. Well
Here's
done,
what I want you
Gordo.
guys to think about for the next pod. We are heading into that space where there's going to be some changes here, right? There's going to be some changes in the league, head coaches, maybe front office. Some have moved. Let's have a little think on that, on what might happen here over the next few weeks in organizations that may take a turn and make a shift. I can come up with a couple off the top of my head, but I think that there may be some more movement. That we just heard from Garber, who talked about a $300 million transfer window, and specific phrase being, "We've just scratched the surface." That's a pretty bold statement. I tend to think that when you start to give clubs a little bit more key, a little bit more leash, the decision making gets smaller and it gets sharper. And I think that we're going to have some changes here not that far away. So let's chop that up next week.
All right.
Dax, Gordo, phenomenal performances. Really, really well done. Major League Journeyman, we are out. Adios.